And now it is my honor to introduce to you our keynote speaker for today's event, my friend and colleague, Brandi Colander, who will share with us the story of She Will Rise, or hashtag She Will Rise. It's an organization that she co-founded, and she'll tell you more about it. Brandi is a problem solver and a strategist with a passion for issues around equity and environment. So she is in very good company with us. She's an attorney and a sustainability practitioner with deep public policy expertise. She's worked across many sectors and testified before Congress and state governing bodies. She earned her Master's of Environmental Management at Yale, her JD from Vermont Law School, and a Bachelor's of Urban and Environmental Planning from the University of Virginia. Go Who's! You can find her full bio on our Padlet site as well. Welcome, Brandi. We're thrilled to have you here today, and the floor is yours.
And can you please switch the sign language interpreters who are pinned at this point? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liz. I first just want to say thank you. Thank you for having me today. I'm seeing names in the chat box, and it is clear that I am among a cohort of sisters by extension, and so I want to thank you for welcoming me. It is truly a privilege and an honor to talk today about an effort that I often refer to as a labor of love. This is a campaign at its very core called She Will Rise. And there are 4 ladies who came together, including myself, Kim Tignor, who runs an organization that's really focused on empowerment through intellectual property, April Rain, who's responsible for starting the Oscars So White campaign and really pushing for equity and diversity in narratives that we see in film and television. And then Sabria Williams, who is a longstanding health practitioner and now is working with the Obama Foundation. And basically all of us decided outside of day-to-day work, if you will, that the clear absence of over 200 years and never having the example of a Black woman representing other demographics across America on the highest court of the land, and 3 of the 4 are attorneys, and I'm a member of the Supreme Court Bar, we just thought it was insufficient. And so much like yourselves who have convened in the spirit of celebration with a clear passion around natural resources, we thought, but not us who, and it's certainly far time. And so what I want to spend some time doing today is kind of walking you through what has been our labor of love, a really exciting pioneer effort that we are expecting us, everyone on this call, and our daughters and sisters and generations to come will be able to hopefully witness her rise. And also, frankly, share with you some information that you can choose to do with it what you will, but the facts as the facts are. So to start, one of the things that's really just sort of important to get grounded on is the role of a campaign often goes through a lot of stages. And I think you all, as you sort of had Liz sort of walking through, making some transitions, it's clear that as you begin, you start to grow and you start to realize the infrastructure is not serving the purpose, right? For us, it was a very clear baseline of people need to first and foremost understand the gap, and people also need to understand the facts. And so we use the petition as a tool to do that. And I think it's an incredibly effective way of helping people understand the framing of what it is that you care so passionately about, and then activating them, and then continuing to touch them as they see fit. So you get them involved in your website and your listserv, et cetera. And I'm starting here, even though it feels probably pretty fundamental. But one of the things that we recognized very early on is that the rooms that are often deciding the judicial pipelines for many generations and decades to come were not filled by women of color. We're often not filled by people of color. And frankly, we're not often filled with the folks who are actually informing the day-to-day policies around this work. And so once you can start to penetrate that ecosystem and understand how power is really shifting in those spaces, we then wanted to decide actively to engage new demographics in this work. And that's a really important thing to underscore, because oftentimes, my experience having been in the environmental sector for years, is you sometimes have populations of people that are so in the work that they don't feel like they can afford to think about these other things, that they are luxuries to be able to think about and connect with, and be able to actually shift power to change them. And so for us, we were very intentional about being very colorful. So if you go to our website, Sister SCOTUS, you can see that we have loud, almost like 70s funky colors. We had Black artists, and mostly women, who were designing a lot of the swag that we would give out at the Women's March or wherever we could show up. The goal there was to make this an effort that was an intentional outreach to folks who frankly have been neglected for so long. And I think what mirrors your work as well is the convening power, the intentional outreach, the willingness to connect on levels that have nothing to do with the substance, but help people appreciate how connected we really are and how powerful we are when we simply come together. So for us, we feel like one of the most exciting components of the campaign is that we now have new audiences that even care about the fact that there has never been a Black woman on the Supreme Court. And in fact, in the history of the entire court, there have been 3 people of color, 2 of which have been Black men, Thurgood Marshall and the current sitting Clarence Thomas. Why does this matter? I think as women, we understand intimately that gender disparities and just the absence of representation clearly matters. But I want to make this really specific to Black women in this moment on December 8th, 2021. And I think anyone who's been avoiding the news or watching it intently can see that the Supreme Court has been enthralled in the never-ending issue of reproductive rights. My intention today is not to stand on a soapbox and go down the rabbit hole or advocate one way or another. These are our bodies, and that is the entire point. I think for me, we view this as a very unique issue for women of color who are disproportionately impacted. And so I want to share with you a little bit of information with regards to Black women and maternal health. Black women are more than 3 times as likely to die from pregnancy-related complications as white women. Native American women are more than twice as likely, regardless of income or education. And so I have to say that because I can't class out or education myself out of this issue. It is the facts as they stand. These are pregnant women who are living in rural communities. They tend to be on average 60% more likely to die before, during, or following childbirth than women who are in urban communities. And I think as folks who are managing resources, we understand the importance of being close to the ecosystems that can support healthy maternal experiences. Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, the December 1st case, we're anticipating the final decision to be rendered by June of this year. And the current composition of the court is 6-3, a conservative majority. If it overturns Roe versus Wade, Black women and women of color will inevitably pay the highest price. It's so critical that even this White House decided this week to do a summit on Black maternal health. This is unprecedented, and I can explain to all of you who I think were a witness to the Obama administration watching certain incidents where race was brought to the forefront in a way that we'd never experienced as a country. And we had a president who had to decide how to handle that. I think what's different here that I want to highlight is that when it comes to medical health, and when we think about what we've experienced in a pandemic, there are just certain data points that are unique to different demographics. And our opportunity is to manage how we better resource them so that we are not all then paying for the negative externalities around neglect from not having properly resourced them. And so the Black Maternal Health Summit focused on some of the opportunities that this current administration can start to hone in on and frankly allocate resources towards. And so the Build Back Better investment plan has $3 billion allocated in new maternal health funding aimed at growing and diversifying the perinatal workforce, improving data collection, maternal health risk monitoring, requiring all states to provide continuous Medicare coverage and Medicaid coverage. I'm spending time here because there's not a Black woman sitting on the Supreme Court, and there never has been one. So what happens, similar to a woman being the first president? Is there no pipeline, right? That's the question that we're often asked throughout this campaign. It's pretty startling to think about the number of women who have worked their whole lives and curated careers to be hopefully given the opportunity. There is an incredible pipeline. And that's one of the things that I've actually found so edifying and rewarding. And we thought as a campaign, how do we capture this? How do we, help people understand what the facts are on the ground, pull new people into the conversation, but also, and I think Mitt Romney for this forever, the book of women, right? Where's the binder? Where are these people? And so one of the things we've developed is a judicial tracker. And so you can go to the website and you can see who's currently sitting. We have 6 Black women that are on the judiciary at the federal level. And we also are really intentional, this is another question that's often asked, about not picking a horse, if you will, because our intention here is not to lobby or advocate for a specific issue, lobby or advocate for a specific person. It is to bring to bear the clear disparity and create enough transparency and tools to get people engaged. I am really honored and humbled to have these conversations, but I also want to be a bit personal and just help frame the issue for me. And I've struggled as I've talked about this over time to decide, how personal do you really want to be? But Brandi's experience is very much core to why this is a labor of love. As a Black woman, I have absolutely experienced disparities in healthcare. The same disparities that I think are reasons why I ended up having 2 OBs scrub in, frankly, at Sibley Hospital. There are my child was low birth weight. I have experienced loss. There are things that I think we, in our private lives, are always seeking to manage. And the truth of the matter is, this will never shift if we don't have someone at every level of our 3 branches of government, at every level, someone who has walked in your experience, who knows the nuance of what you're carrying. And so if I leave you with nothing else today, I want to first again thank you, because I feel like this is a perfect space to share efforts like the She Will Rise campaign. It is a perfect complement and solidarity to what our experience as women is and will continue to be in time. As we come together, we certainly cannot do it alone. And I think there is so much incredible power in being able to pull in new demographics, new voices, make these issues more accessible, and help people understand that there are women in the queue ready yesterday, prepared to serve our great, incredible, evolving nation. The last big point is what you're doing here is so special, and it is a compliment to She Will Rise, because it is what I often say, her story. The power of narrative is absolutely critical. No one else is able to tell our story the way we are able to tell our story. Why look outside of yourselves? What we're asking for through the She Will Rise campaign, especially given that our current president has made the commitment to supporting a nominee that is a Black woman for the first time in our nation's history, is to create accountability. And so I would ask all of you to go to our website, and I'm sure I can follow up with additional materials if it's not easily accessible, to sign the petition, to get more involved if you are so inclined. I'm always happy to take questions, but it is so important that our nation starts to integrate demographics that have been neglected, because we all pay the price, just like we pay the price when we don't properly manage our natural resources. it's all the same. It's one ecosystem and we touch one another. And so I want to thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about a passion project. And I really am hoping that this is truly just the beginning of a conversation and a relationship with another incredible organization. So thank you.
Thank you, Brandi. You are such an inspiration, and we truly appreciate the amazing work that you are doing through She Will Rise.